Emily had always been fascinated by the concept of time travel. As a brilliant physicist, she spent years studying and experimenting with different theories and technologies. Finally, after years of hard work, she succeeded in building a functioning time machine. Excited to test her invention, Emily set the controls for her birth year 1995 and pressed the button. The machine whirred to life and Emily vanished into the past. However, something went wrong. Instead of emerging from the machine in 1995, she found herself back in 1940. Confused and disoriented, Emily tried to make sense of her surroundings. She had never been to the United States before, let alone during World War II. As she wandered through the streets, she stumbled upon a small cafe where a young couple sat sipping coffee. They introduced themselves as Jack and Sarah, who were engaged to be married. Emily's presence caused quite a stir in the town. People whispered about the mysterious stranger who had appeared out of nowhere. The local authorities became suspicious, and soon Emily was forced to flee the town to avoid trouble. As she continued her journey through time, Emily began to notice strange occurrences happening around her. Events that had occurred years ago were now changing as a result of her actions. She saw Jack and Sarah's wedding day transformed into a lavish party with no bride in sight. Panicked, Emily realized that her presence in the past was causing irreparable damage to the timeline. Desperate to set things right, she turned to her knowledge of physics and the theories of time travel. She studied the fundamental laws of thermodynamics and the behavior of particles at the quantum level. Determined to find a solution, Emily spent countless hours poring over ancient texts and scouring scientific journals for any mention of time travel paradoxes or anomalies. She became convinced that she needed to create a stable wormhole between her own birth year and 1940 in order to correct the timeline. Emily's plan involved creating a miniature wormhole using the properties of exotic matter. If successful, it would allow her to transfer herself back to her own birth year without disrupting the timeline further. However, the risks were enormous. If she failed, the consequences could be catastrophic. The stakes grew higher as Emily worked tirelessly to perfect her design. Jack and Sarah's story became increasingly entangled with her own fate as they began to exhibit strange behaviors that seemed to be connected to her presence in their lives. It was as if they had become unwitting pawns in a game of cosmic chess. With every passing moment, Emily felt the weight of responsibility bearing down on her shoulders. She knew that one misstep could destroy entire generations, causing irreparable damage to humanity's future. Her thoughts were filled with questions. What would happen to Jack and Sarah if she succeeded? Would they ever find each other? As the clock ticked closer to her deadline, Emily steeled herself for the final challenge. She constructed a device that would create the miniature wormhole, carefully calibrating the parameters to ensure stability. The moment of truth arrived, and with a deep breath she activated the machine. The room shook, and Emily felt an intense energy coursing through her body. Visions flashed before her eyes, fragmented glimpses of Jack and Sarah's wedding day, their laughter and tears, and the sound of children playing in the distance. When it was all over, Emily stumbled forward, gasping for air. She found herself standing on a grassy slope, with no sign of civilization in sight. The world around her seemed to be shifting. The sky turned a deep shade of indigo, and stars twinkled like diamonds scattered across the fabric of space. Time itself was moving faster now, and Emily knew she had only seconds before the moment of truth. With shaking hands, Emily reached into her pocket and retrieved a small device containing a single DNA strand. This would be the key to correcting the timeline if she could find it in 1995. Taking one final look around at the unfamiliar landscape, Emily set off toward her destination, leaving behind the echoes of Jack and Sarah's love story. Would she succeed? Only time would tell. Emily found herself standing on a bustling street, surrounded by people rushing to and fro. She quickly located the address on the DNA strand. It led her to an apartment building where she had once lived as a child. Taking one last deep breath, Emily pushed open the door and slipped inside. As she made her way up the stairs, Emily felt the familiar rush of excitement mixed with trepidation. Would she be able to correct the timelines? Or would the consequences of altering it forever change the course of history? With trembling hands, Emily retrieved a small device from her pocket, a duplicate of the one that had powered her journey through time. She turned it on and began to enter coordinates into its keypad. A sudden surge of energy coursed through the air as Emily entered the final sequence. The world around her seemed to warp and bend, like the surface of a lake disturbed by a thrown stone. When the device finally went dark, Emily felt an eerie silence enveloping the room. Taking one last look at the device in her hand, Emily smiled faintly. It was done. Would she be able to find Jack and Sarah? Only time would tell if the correction had been successful. The clock ticked on as Emily stepped back into the unknown, ready for whatever lay ahead.